Hey everyone, buckle up for a new episode of Bumpaholics, the one and only podcast made to teach you on all stages of the arrival of a baby, before, during, and after. Whether you're an expecting parent, have questions about fertility, have difficulty with lactation or postpartum, you are sure to learn from our experienced doulas when you listen to Bumpaholics. Today, we're going to be diving into expected due dates with Kristen Mason and myself, Brittany Brownell. Join us in the comments section for today's episode of Birthaholics, where we talk about all things fertility, pregnancy, and birth. Welcome to another episode of Birthaholics. I'm Brittany Brownell, certified birth and bereavement doula, certified birth photographer, education director, and volunteer with Casey Women's Ministry, mother of 3, soon to be mother of 4. Kristen?
Hi, my name is Kristen Mason. I am a certified full spectrum doula through Babo Mia and a certified childbirth educator through Milestones Midwifery. I am the programs director with Casey Women's Ministry, and I also volunteer with them, and I am a mother of 2.
Awesome. All right. So like I said, we're going to dive into due dates. What is a due date and why do we have them? Kristen,
they're a sham. That's what they are.
They are a sham. They're such a sham. It needs to be due month.
Due month. I think it's people trying to control an uncontrollable situation. That's what I truly think. People want more information, more control over their pregnancy and when their baby is going to arrive. And it's not controllable. Nobody's pregnancy is exactly the same. People even carry same person carries a different baby completely differently. It's not something that we can just figure out for everyone because we're just all so different.
We're very different. And like you said, each pregnancy is so different, with each of mine, mother of 3, they all went different lengths. Mm-hmm. One was, we're supposed to get into this at the end, but anyway, we'll go into it now. One was a week early, one was a week late, and the last one was 2 weeks late. So I was in that full 3-week spectrum of when your baby, well, actually 4-week spectrum really, of when your baby could be due, which is why it should be a due month. But I understand why people would want a due date. But I see so many people get frustrated and disappointed when they miss that due date, when that due date comes and goes. And then it's like, now I have nothing to say what to look for.
Right.
It's better just to me personally, it's better just to say, okay, it's going to be in this date range. And I just know not to go anywhere. I know to have some bags ready to go. I know to have my house prepared in this date range.
Right. Exactly. And when it comes to other people wanting to know your due date and wanting to plan around your pregnancy, maybe they're wanting to come meet the baby, or they're wanting to attend your birth and they need to travel. They like having a due date, which can complicate things because they can make these set plans for this specific day. And they say, oh, it's going to happen within a couple of days around this. And then they get there and the baby's not born. Or
problem.
It's a little bit earlier than that and they miss it.
Yeah, I had that exact problem with my grandma. She had bought her plane tickets to come up around a week after I was expected to be due. We figured, okay, we had my second a week late. So this one I expect to be somewhere in that same range of a week late. Well, he ended up being 2 weeks late. And
they think that it'll replicate.
Yeah,
that's how I carried last time, so that's how I'll carry this time. Not necessarily. All babies look differently.
They do. Your body does different things. Different things through your pregnancy can affect when your baby's due, such as the big dreaded COVID.
Stress levels.
Yeah, complications,
access to different levels of care. How old is your body? How much experience has your body gotten growing babies? There's all kinds of things that can affect how long a baby gestates for, how long a baby needs to gestate for.
Did you get your last menstrual date accurate?
Yeah, that
Did you
too.
know it?
Mhm.
Do you know how long you normally have a cycle for? Is it the 28 days or is it more like 32 days for you? That affects
Right.
it too.
Mhm. Or just completely irregular.
Totally irregular.
None of these things are taken into consideration when they're making these things. Let's talk about the different techniques so that people know what we're talking about.
Yes. So one of the most common techniques is Nigiel's rule. Basically, that rule states that you're adding a year to your gestation, well, to your last menstruation, first day of your last menstruation. So say your menstrual cycle started on October 5th and it was 5 days long. You're not going to take that last day. You're going to take that very first day. So from that very first day of that cycle, you're going to go a year in the future. So if it was 2021 that you had your last menstrual cycle and you're going into 2022 of October 5th, then subtract 3 months from that. Can we go backwards in our heads, Kristen?
I think you did the math here. October 5th, subtract
did.
3 months. Oh, you didn't, equals July.
July. So yes, that makes July 5th.
Mhm.
And then Nigiel's rule says to add 7 more days to get your estimated due date. So 1 more week. So that puts you at about July 12th. That's not very accurate though.
Oh. And do you know why they do it from the period instead of from the day that you think that you got pregnant or that you had sex?
Why is that?
It's because it takes a while to actually conceive after having sex, and it takes a different amount of time for different people.
That's very
So
true.
what they can say definitively, this is exactly when this happened, is I started my menstrual cycle on. The only way to really know what day that you actually conceived and the baby actually attached is if you have conception bleeding.
Some people get that. Not everyone.
And for that, some people, they know that and say, okay, I know the exact day that I conceived and I can get a more accurate due date based on that than I can a menstrual cycle, especially people who have irregular periods, because that's going to come into a really big, do you have a 7-day period? Do you have a 4-day period? Do you tend to ovulate 12 days in? Or some people, they don't ovulate until very close to their periods. And so that's just wrong.
And some people ovulate really early in their cycle. Just depends on your body and what's in your environment. What are you drinking even can affect it.
Yeah, it's true.
What you're eating and drinking.
What we're eating and drinking, the nutrition and hormones that we put into our own bodies affect our hormonal balances. And it's hormones that cause us to go through these cycles, and other things, but mostly hormones that cause us to go through these cycles, which as a full spectrum doula, part of that is fertility. So I learn a lot about these things and tracking to try and help people who are trying to conceive have a better chance of having sex at the right time that helps them become pregnant. And there's just a lot of things to take into that. The ovulation date, it's not necessarily cut and dry.
Which is why it's like a week long in most apps.
You could ovulate anywhere in this time.
Yeah.
And
if you have
only
sex anywhere in this time,
kind of to see that, and all you're doing is putting in your periods, if you're trying to conceive, that's definitely not a good idea. If you're trying not to conceive, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
There's a lot more information that you need in there to get a lot more accurate ovulation date, conception date. So anyway, that's why they use periods for people. So why do you go back 2 weeks? I've only been pregnant for 1 week, but I have to tell people 3. That's why.
Yep. Yep. That's why. And then it's pretty nice to get a dating sonogram if you just have no idea when it potentially happened. Because maybe your cycle got off, maybe you were sick and it got off, or you had, I don't know, something happened and somehow your cycle wasn't steady like it may have normally have been, or maybe like we were just talking about, you have an erratic cycle and you just don't know when it might have happened. So getting a dating sonogram if you're pregnant already, can really help identify, okay, baby's about this size, so we estimate you are about this many weeks based on baby size.
Keeping in mind that there's different types of sonograms, there's different types of technicians, and then putting those together means that there's a variation of accuracy.
Yes.
So you're definitely wanting to go to a more experienced technician. You're wanting to get an actual dating sonogram, not going to somewhere to get, you know, the really cute 3D with the bear and the baby heart. Super adorable, not good for getting accurate information. And the earlier that you get that done, the more accurate that it's going to be. The longer into your gestational period that you are, the less accurate the weight and the dating is going to be.
So true.
It's just harder.
Go ahead.
It's just harder for them to see because the baby gets bigger. So they can't see the whole baby anymore. And so it's hard to get those accurate measurements.
Well, it's just like kids when they're, you know, growing in the world, not inside the womb, they grow at different rates, which is why we have a percentile for sizes of children. You know, your kid might be 50th percentile, where my kid could be 70th or even 90th percentile. Or you might have a child who's at the 10 or 20th percentile. It's just the different sizes and different growth rates of our children and of people in general. What?
Emily was 2.5 percentile.
Yeah, you know, someone's got to be there though. Someone has to be there.
Right. That's the lowest that they gave me. And then at one point they're like, she's small. And I said, well, what does that mean? And they said, she's just on the low end. And it's okay. You told me 2.5, which is pretty low. So.
Is she smaller than that? Or
right. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that's one method, and that's the one that tends to be used the most for sure.
Yes, that is the most common method. It's the method that a lot of those apps are going to utilize. And then you have a method called the Woods method. So it's very similar. Again, you take that first date of the menstrual cycle and you go 1 year in the future. For this one takes into account if you're a first-time parent or if you've had multiple children. Multiple pregnancies specifically. So if you are a first-time parent, then from that year out, you would subtract 2 months and 2 weeks. So you'd go, instead of July, you'd be August, and then subtract 2 weeks from that. So it'd be August 5th minus 2 weeks. You'd be sometime in the last 2 weeks of July instead of mid-July. For people who have had multiple pregnancies, you go 2 months and then subtract 18 days from that. So about 2.5 weeks. So they're very similar in those dates, in getting that date, but you're a little more specific because someone who's had multiple pregnancies tends to go into labor a little sooner.
Which is funny because that wasn't the case for either of us.
No, not even remotely.
No, we went longer every time.
Yeah,
of course, I've only had 2, so every time is a little bit of a stronger, but I'm assuming that this 4th baby of yours is going to be born at like 43 weeks.
Oh gosh, I really hope not 43 weeks. You know, whatever. I'm fully expecting that first week of August again, and then I'll just have 3 kids August 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then
exactly.
I'm fully expecting that. So yeah. My due date right now is July 17th, I think. It's a Tuesday. Yeah, so based on the Woods method, going from my first day of the menstrual cycle, the Woods method is most accurate compared to what my sonogram said. Because I had to get a dating sonogram.
Right.
So if you're using the Woods method, that one seems to be more in line with where I was at. But I also, it was kind of weird. So anyway, but those are the 2 most common methods. There is a third method called the Mittendorf-Williams rule. It's another method. That one takes into account a lot of different information. You can actually go to Mama Natural's website and fill out her sheet here, and it gives you I'm talking, when was your last period? So that first day. How long was your luteal phase, if you know it? Kristen, can you give us some information on what the luteal phase is?
So your cycle is going to be broken into multiple phases. And so from the end of your period until you actually ovulate, they calculate that. And then from when you ovulate to when your next menstrual cycle starts is also calculated. All of those things have averages, and the different lengths tell me different things about your hormone levels, what you might have a little too much of, what. So there's multiple phases that occur during your ovulation cycle. There's, when you're menstruating, in between menstruation and ovulation, the ovulation itself, and then in between ovulation and your next menstrual cycle starting. And so that last part is the luteal phase. And there's different potential lengths. There's different averages for each of those for each of those phases. And they tell you different things about different hormone imbalances, what you might be nutritionally deficient in, and just where your body sits comfortably. There's a wide range of normal for the length of the luteal phase. But if you're having a really short one, then it's a lot harder for you to conceive.
That makes sense. If it's real short. Oof. Since you're getting so close to your menstruation date of, just not a lot of space and a lot of time for that implantation to happen.
You need time for that, versus in your follicular phase, there's a wider range of normal for the follicular phase, which is between when you have your period and when you ovulate.
Well, that is something that the Mittendorf-Williams rule takes into account. It also is asking some information. Yeah, it should. It definitely needs to. So it's also asking information about your height, your weight, your age, even your ethnicity. I don't know why this is asking about college information, but it's asking if you went to college or not. Do you drink alcohol or coffee? First pregnancy. Have you had bleeding during the pregnancy?
Okay. So they're checking for progesterone levels, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know the college one. That one is,
yeah.
Not sure. That might just be for her own information.
Well, she's got a note here that says people who attended college carry a bit longer. And then in parentheses, weird, right?
That is new information to me. Interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. So I'm like, interesting. It also indicates that, which we know, Caucasians tend to carry longer. Younger people tend to have longer pregnancies. People who drink usually carry an extra day. Interesting. People who drink a lot of coffee deliver earlier. Let's see, first pregnancies carry about she's saying 3 days longer, which we know usually first pregnancies are 3 to 5 days longer than that 40-day.
On average.
On average, yeah.
Brittany and I just took the average and threw it out.
We did. Goodbye, average. Totally gone.
Totally gone.
Totally gone. Between I was early, which I'm pretty sure I did that to myself. And then well, I carried a big heavy item that I shouldn't have carried. a storage case, and it was pretty heavy. And amazingly enough,
about that.
You're not.
A lot of people would ignore that, and don't get me wrong, I am all for I am woman, hear me roar, but also some of these cautionary tales are true. One of them being lifting really heavy things and trying to use your core while you're pregnant. You're not, even sit-ups, because you might have that diastasis recti in your stomach, which is just that separation. It's not fun to mess with.
No, it's not. And I wouldn't have carried it, but amazing. And I'm the kind of person that I don't ask for help. I really should have. I'm more likely to ask for help now. But, I was at the store, and amazingly enough, I'm very pregnant. I'm very clearly very pregnant.
Right.
And no one thought to ask, do you need help getting that in your car? Not a single person. So I pushed the cart out there, and I had to transfer it from the car, from the cart to my vehicle. I left it in there when I got home, but I mean, just a couple hours later, my water broke. And it was a gusher, which means now I know that it means baby was high and not low and engaged. So cautionary tale.
Is that what that means?
Usually, yeah, because
That's
so
interesting.
I explain it as baby's floating up here. There's all kinds of space for the water to go. And if your water breaks, then it's just going to gush. It's just going to go on through.
Before baby's head hits your cervix and suffers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if baby is low and engaged and putting pressure on that, if your water breaks, just a little movement is going to make it trickle, but it's in there. It's blocked. There's nowhere for that water to go at this point. And also, if you're having a gusher, that's when they're concerned about the cord prolapse, because you got all that space between baby's head and the cervix for the cord to go through and come down.
Yeah. You can also have a leak if only the forebag is what broke.
Yeah. So with, I honestly don't remember when my water broke with my second, but with my third, that was my indicator that I was starting labor as well. But it was just a little trickle. He was well engaged. I had a baby 5 hours later. So, you know, yeah.
Total opposite for me. First one was a leak and she took 33 hours to come out from the onset of labor, not from my water breaking. And it took a long time for my labor to start. And then for my second, it was gush and he was born 2.5 hours later.
Ooh, crazy, isn't it?
So I just like to take all of these and just kidding.
Yeah.
I refuse to be a statistic.
Yep. Never mind. I'm just going to be the outlier over here. I'm going to be the one that breaks the statistics.
Exactly. All right. So we talked about our due dates accurate. We didn't cover this note though. Data from the Perinatal Institute, a nonprofit organization, shows that an estimated date of delivery is rarely accurate. In fact, a baby born on its predicted due date is only 4% of the time. And I believe that. And I'm wondering how many of those are purposefully induced shortly before the due date and are then born on their due date.
I would agree with that. I mean, even one of our most recent births, she births around her due date, but is rarely actually on the due date. She's within a day or two of that due date, but yeah, 4% accuracy.
So probably not. So basically when you're looking at your calendar and you say, that's my EDD, then you say, okay, that's probably not the day that I'll have my baby.
It's going to be at least 5 days later, if not longer.
Yeah. So I tell all my clients, and then people can get, you know, the danger of this is when people start worrying about, oh, I've gone past my due date, and they start getting mentally tired because they had this goal set in their head. I always tell my clients, tell yourself from the beginning that you're going to give birth around 42 weeks, and be prepared, you know, at 37, 38. There's nothing wrong with being prepared early, as long as you're reminding yourself, this is early. I'm probably going to give birth at 42 weeks. And I've had so many clients laugh at me and go, oh, okay, you hit me. And then they give birth at 41.5 weeks. You were right. We should have done that, because they start texting me at 40 weeks plus 1. And they say, oh, I'm so tired.
I see.
Well, you have the mental fortitude to get to 40 weeks, but that's where your brain stopped at. And then that can also be an issue with starting to get worried at 40 weeks.
All right. But no, I totally agree with that. You know, I'll tell clients, you're going to go at least 40 weeks in 5 days, if not longer. And it's totally normal and natural and healthy to go that long. Your doctor's going to start talking induction at 38 weeks if you have a doctor. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it.
Yep. I had a client cancel 3 inductions. She just had her baby, what was it, 4 or 5 days ago at this point. I think, was it 4 or 5 days ago? I don't know. I've been to another birth since then. The point is, she canceled 3 inductions because they started pushing it around 37 weeks, and she was perfectly fine to continue carrying, and baby was healthy and actually born at only 6 pounds. So it was a good thing that the baby continued to cook.
Yeah. You know, your body and your baby know. They know. Give it time. Get your brain out of your space. Get your brain out of it. We just got to take the brain out and let the body do it.
Mhm.
That's what it's all about. It's hard to do.
It is. It can be for sure.
Especially when you are at those such uncomfortable stages. You know, you're in your last couple weeks and you know it's your last couple weeks. There's a lot of emotion that goes into that. There's so much. You know, if you're expecting this to be your last pregnancy, that can stave things off. That can have an effect on when you have your baby. Just that emotional holdback slows it down in ways. But also if your baby's just needs a little longer. So, well, I really hope you have enjoyed this episode of Bumpaholics. You can find more information at kcwomen'sministry.org. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bumpaholics is available on YouTube, of course, where you're finding us probably, and wherever you can find your podcast. So we are on many of those podcast networks. If you haven't already, please comment, like, and go ahead and hit the bell to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We do post a new episode every week. And we love having you here. We love hearing your comments and learning about what you guys are more interested in. So goodbye for now. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.